How's it going, guys? It's Kass. As always, if you've been enjoying my content, then hit that subscribe button. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the new tier sets, the models specifically, coming in patch 9.2. I'm just going to go through and give my general opinion on it, and obviously that's exactly what this video is going to be. It's going to be completely subjective, just looking at the looks of these and judging them based off of that solely. Also, we're going to talk about class theme and things like that, but I think that falls in line to any of these tier set models, especially when we have moved on from the leather, mail, plate, cloth based styled tier sets that all look very similar and moved back into the class design, which I think just makes sense for the game overall. So that in mind, let's go ahead and start here. The Death Knight one, as I've looked at it more, I've liked it a little bit more. However, the helmet at first glance reminds me of one of the earlier rogue helmets, I believe in Warlords of Draenor, or maybe Legion, where you have like this white skull with like the hood around it. I'm fairly certain that there's something similar out there that has been implemented in the game for Rogue that I've seen before. Um, the helmet and the shoulders though are pretty cool. The main issue I have with this set is the belt and the boots. The belt is kind of just there. It doesn't necessarily add anything to the transmog whatsoever. If anything, it takes it away just because it's kind of bizarre. Once you have it in the size increased here, you can see like the actual chain portions. Some of them are 3D modeled, um, like with the helmets and with the belts. However, once you actually have it on the cloth portions of them, they just turn into a like PNG 2D file that are on the actual cloth itself. I think anytime stuff like that happens, it's just not good for the look of it. You could have taken some extra time to implement the 3D styling on the belt and on the chest piece, and it would definitely put this in a much better category. Next, we have the Demon Hunter one. This is honestly one of the worst Demon Hunter sets I've ever seen. Thematically, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You have this fur featured throughout the transmog that just honestly, I don't get why you would ever have a Demon Hunter with fur all over the transmog. It doesn't make any sense for Demon Hunters to have this aesthetic whatsoever, and the holy aesthetic with like the shoulders and the helmets is just generally doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We are a demon hunter and having this like holy aesthetic and vibe, even though it does fit the zone potentially, it just doesn't really hit whatsoever with this transmog. I don't think there's anything that I personally enjoy about this transmog whatsoever, except for maybe the gloves if they didn't have the red and gold shield on them, and they were literally just like the leather gloves with the gold tips. I think those would be pretty cool, but honestly, there's nothing about this transmog that tells me this is a demon hunter. If you walked past a player in Orgrimmar or Stormwind with no horns on their character and not using warglaives, I don't think anyone could tell what class this is without having to like inspect them or obviously look at what type of energy that they're using. Realistically, this is probably the worst set out of all of them. I don't think the time or effort that was put into this was thought about what a demon hunter would need for a class specific spec. I think this is just like a general leather tier set that got thrown to demon hunter. Moving on is the Druid. This is one of the better ones out of all of them. I think the main issue, obviously, is how many times you actually see a Druid in human form. But when they are in human form, I think this is a pretty nice overall transmog. I think you can definitely see that this is a Druid, or maybe you could consider this to be like a Shaman transmog. But overall, I'd say this is definitely pretty Druid heavy. Next is the Hunter. This is one of those that I'm sure some people will love, some people will hate. Overall, I'm pretty neutral towards it. I think it's okay. I think the helmet is pretty cool. I think the shoulders are pretty cool. I just generally don't like the weird like wing aesthetic, but like I said, that's some people will enjoy that, some people won't. The mage one is just generally kind of missing the mark here. I don't think there's really anything that stands out aside from the shoulders. The helmet kind of stands out, but in a negative way. It seems like the red that they're trying to fit in here doesn't really make all that much sense with like the actual design here. It feels like they wanted to make sure that the coloration stood out, but it stands out in a bad way, unfortunately for me. I think if this was more like a burgundy or even like this tan color, it would just be more cohesive overall with like the gems still being red. But overall, I don't think this is like that terrible, but I also don't think it's very good. The monk one, speaking of terrible, this is one of the worst ones aside from the demon hunter one. The only thing that I personally like on this is the belt. Everything else is just kind of a miss for me. I don't know why they feel the need to add in these like weird circly like bead monk style necklaces. Obviously it's a monk, so it makes sense, but I don't think every transmog needs to have some of this like aesthetic, especially when you have like the belts and the shoulders that all tie it together. I feel like if there was like a not necessarily like a scarf, but even more like kind of like a bandana style that went down here that matched like the red cloth with the orange tips, it would make a little bit more sense and look a lot better. Or if even these orb things were just less pronounced in red to match like the middle portion, I think that would just generally be a better overall aesthetic for this transmog. Moving on, we have the Paladin Transmog. This is probably the best transmog out of all of them. I think for Paladin players, they will definitely enjoy having this transmog and like this transmog. The only thing that I could see them potentially improving on is some of the more details in the shoulders could be slightly better, and the belts could be more pronounced. However, overall, this is a pretty good transmog, and honestly, probably the best out of all of them. Here's the priest. Again, this is one of those where, depending on how pronounced the 3D particle effects are, I don't think you would definitely say this is a priest right away, unless like this wing aesthetic is a lot more pronounced in game. Overall, the shoulders are pretty cool. The helmet I actually personally like a lot. Again, the belt just completely misses. But overall, it's a pretty good transmog. The Rogue one is definitely the best one for leather users by far. The helmet is really sick. I like this like blinding white helmet. It's really cool. The shoulders are pretty nice too. Also, I think this is one of the better done pair of shoulders out of all of them. Again, we have a belt that's like non-existent here. That could be really cool. Imagine if you had like some more of this white stuff, just like not necessarily dripping down because that could be kind of bizarre, but like kind of the same aesthetic going on here with the belts, or even like an orb that's like holding this energy would be pretty cool. Also, I feel like the gloves could have more of the red accent on it too, just to fit the set again. And the belt right here, it's just like asking for that red gem to be put in there, but it's just not there. Again, there's small things that could improve this set, but overall, this set is definitely the best one for leather users. Now we have the Shaman one. This is one that's just going to be like a coin flip for many Shaman players, I'm sure. I think overall it's pretty cool. The shoulders are really sick. The helmet is pretty nice too. I kind of wish the helmet was like a brighter white, kind of similar to how this white is. But then again, maybe after a while it could get kind of annoying to see consistently. But I do wish some of that white was a little bit more glowy than just like this fur-based texture that they've used throughout some of these. Then we have the Warlock one. This one just is hopefully going to get changed. I don't know why they made this white with a pointy crown. It looks very KKK-esque from, especially when you look at the back of it, and even honestly from the front of it. Um, I I really don't understand why they have a white uh, coloring of this, especially for the mythic version. I could see like normal raid finder being white, but like mythic warlocks wearing all white is just so bizarre. I don't think anything really makes sense about that. Thematically for the class, it just doesn't make sense, and honestly, the design is slightly problematic. Aside from that, if they rounded out the helmet a little bit, I'm sure it would look fine. And made this maybe like the tannish brown color all the way through with these aesthetics being white instead, it could look a little bit better. But overall, I feel like this just doesn't scream Warlock whatsoever. The belt could have been way better if they did this aesthetic here, where like the balls were like exploding with that color. That would be so cool. And maybe that is how it looks, but I feel like they would have shown at least in one of these pictures how it looks. But if they were able to put these particles and these animations in the belt, I feel like that would be one of the best belts so far. Then lastly is the warrior set. Now this set I don't really like at all. It feels very clunky looking and doesn't necessarily, the top portion doesn't really feel like it matches the rest of the set. Like the helmet feels like it matches the belt and the gloves, but the shoulders feel very out of place, and even the chest piece kind of feels out of place, as well as the boots and the pants. It's just it just really missed the mark for me. I don't think there's anything that I personally like about this. The belt is very bizarre with like the orbs. They completely miss the potential to put that orb from the shoulders in the belt again. I think if they did that, the belt would be much cooler and it would actually fit the theme of the overall composition a little bit better too. But generally, I just think this is a pretty big miss overall. And honestly, that's kind of my general opinion about a majority of these, is that they could have been so much better. However, the main thing that I want to hit on at the end is the Demon Hunter one uh, really needs to be changed. I don't think anyone, I haven't seen a single person that actually likes this. However, if those people do exist, I'd love to hear your opinions about it in the comments. And that goes for any of these. I would love to see people's general opinions in the comment section below. And with that in mind, if you like the video, leave a like. If you didn't like the video, F5, refresh, try it again. Maybe you'll like it the second time. Have a good one.